Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Listen to Daddy. I'm your co-host, Daddy Rod, and I'm reporting to you live from the United States Conference on HIV and AIDS in Washington, D.C. And as you can see, right behind me is the theme of this year's conference, Aging with HIV. My co-host, Daddy Rob, could not make it today to this conference, but he suggested that I take a few minutes to interview some of the attendees, other older gay men who may or may not be living with HIV, to give their reflections on what the theme Aging and HIV means to them. So sit back, relax, and join us as we talk with some other brothers in the struggle about what HIV and aging means to them.
My name is Donald Birch III, and I live in Washington, D.C. And HIV and aging means a lot to me because as a black gay man who's lived with HIV for, as of last month, 40 years, it means gratitude. I am so grateful to be here. I never had the same fears that I think people got later because I tested in a clinical trial in 1985. And I did know that people were getting sick, but I don't think I knew people were dying. I got most of my news from the newspaper. I came from a family, we read the newspaper. So I knew that it was out there, and it was sad, but it wasn't devastating. And what was saddest was that I went into this clinical trial to be tested with my best friend, Alan. Alan was negative, and my test came back positive. And unfortunately, Alan went on to die quickly around the time of Magic Johnson's diagnosis. So it means gratitude. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to have the opportunities to help those in my community.
Hello, my name is Oriel. I live in Trenton, New Jersey, here at the USCHA Conference. I've been living with HIV since 1992. I just turned 55 years old. I jumped out of the plane to mark the occasion. We live in pretty crazy times. I feel like finding joy at this point is incredibly important, especially as I get older living with the virus. So aging with HIV at this point, if you're on effective treatment, you have a life to live, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Hey, good day. My name is Ace Robinson. I'm a resident of Cape Town, South Africa. And what does HIV and aging mean to me? As someone who was put on the first session at a USCA at the time on HIV and aging, back when the average age of people living with HIV was still in their early, I think around age 42. We were preparing for that and having a whole conversation about what does aging mean. What it means to me is that we have to be intentional about how are we going to support individuals as they're moving into their more mature years, making sure they're going to get as much fun as they wanted out of life, do all the things that they really always wanted to do. There's always those conversations about, okay, I didn't think I was going to live this long, or maybe I've lost so many friends and I haven't been able to really engage in what do I want, what is my needs, how do I reach self-actualization, if we're going to use those yoga terms. And so what I've learned in like the last, I think 10, 15 years of having these types of conversations, when I tell you at the very first HIV and aging session that I put on, it was only about, I want to say the room had like 12 people in there. It just wasn't a conversation yet. And I kept saying, like, you do know like the average age is going to be 50 soon. And we were talking about NCDs, we were talking about the impact of smoking, we were talking about loneliness, isolation, all these things. And then it started to get attention, started to catch fire. May he rest in peace, Ed Shaw, out of New York. When I was at GMHC, we found funding for people living with HIV over 50, HOF. And what we wanted to do was making sure that people felt alive, people felt like they were having fun. This wasn't about like your sunset, this was about a sunrise. How are you going to rise to the occasion and take on the world? So what does HIV and aging mean to me? That means that we have the opportunity to make sure that people get to have all the joy, all the love, all the acceptance, all the togetherness that they didn't think was guaranteed when they were 20, 30 years old and being diagnosed for the first time. Thank you so much.
George Kerr, Washington, D.C., and HIV and aging means for me is incredible. It's something that we've been trying to get on people's radar for years, and to finally have a national conversation on what it means to live with HIV is so incredible, and there's so many different aspects. And we need to really make sure that we're reaching everyone within the wider communities, because every individual has a different story, has a different need, and we need to be able to meet those needs.
My name is Ed. I've been living with HIV for 39 years. Living with HIV as an older gay man means to me having to develop resiliency to address all the issues that come along with that. The many comorbidities that I've faced over the years. This includes pneumonia, HPV cancer. I've had to face many challenges. And so for me, living with HIV as an older gay man is being resilient.
My name is Murray Penner. I live in Washington, D.C. And HIV and aging, to me, is about all the complications that I have started developing as a person living with HIV. I've been living with HIV for nearly 40 years, and I've got all kinds of complications. I've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, I'm pre-diabetic, I've had heart issues, I've had many strokes. All this stuff together has to be brought on, in my opinion, by the aging process and living with HIV together. It's an area where doctors don't always, know what the answers are, and so we're trying to figure all this out. And to me, HIV and aging is really about research. It's about new ways of providing care to people living with HIV, and really finding out what it takes to support us as we age with HIV.
Sam Quintero. I live in Florida, Miami, to be specific. I am a gay man, and what older men living with HIV means to me is that a reminder of the resilience of our community, especially the community that opened the doors and paved the way, not only for us to be here where we are today, but to the advancements of many of the people that we lost back 30, 40 years ago, were responsible for us getting the limitations that we have today. They were involved in all those clinical trials. They showed us that they were not going anywhere, that they were going to be right. Unfortunately, we lost some of them in the way, but we have many of them showing us and reminding us of the resilience of our community. That is what it's
Hi, my name is Jeff, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm a 62-year-old HIV positive black gay man who's been living with HIV for 40 years. And as someone who's living with HIV and aging at 62, for me it's about resilience and thriving and being that individual, and also about what other comorbidities or other health concerns that might be related as it relates to the medications that we're taking. But for the most part, it's about resilience and striving and know that I got this.
Hi there, I'm TJ Ravetti. I live in New York City, and what HIV and aging means to me is it's really complicated because we've lived with HIV as part of our lives for my entire adult life. And so even at going to be 61 years old, I look at my sexual history, what I've experienced. I have been HIV negative my entire life, living as an openly gay man. But I still feel that HIV is still with us, and that I still use harm reduction strategies, I still use condoms, I still take my PrEP, because I still am trying to be responsible of not acquiring HIV or passing it on to my partners. So it still is a thought in my mind, even though we don't read about it in the newspapers every day. As an older gay man, I remember the fear that we had when I was 25 years old, 20 years old, thinking this really could happen to me. And so now at 61, that doesn't live with me as much anymore, but I think about it still. And so I just wanted to give those who are encouragement. I have always been a supporter of people that are living with HIV and trying to remove that stigma, but also wanting to not be a person who is passing HIV on to my partner.
My name is Danny Linden. I'm 66 and I live in Washington, D.C. Aging with HIV. What that really means to me as someone who has lost a family, a community, of friends, of brothers and sisters over this past 42 years is almost too much to comprehend. It certainly does. The losses are indescribable, incalculable, and it's somewhat surreal to think that so many folks that I thought would be with me on this journey of aging are no longer here. And that would also include a partner that I lost in 1989. So it's not only your blood family, but it's it's the brothers and it's the sisters and it's the children. I don't dwell on, or try not to dwell a lot on the loss, but my good fortune of being here and somewhat healthy, although the knee's about to give out. But I'm just grateful for what I have and what I had, and those gifts will never go away.
So, hi, I'm Harold Phillips. I'm the CEO-elect of NMAC here in Washington, D.C. The theme of the conference of Aging with HIV is one that is both personal and professional for me. It is also a theme of triumph and resilience. So, with over 50% of those with diagnosed HIV in the United States, over 50% are over 50 years of age. And so, aging with HIV, we are medical miracles because many of us were not expected to be here. As a person living with HIV for the last 20 years, it is both personal as well. For me, it is about quality of life and how I want to age gracefully with HIV. And what does that mean? Being able to define that and shape it. Because like I said, it wasn't expected that most of us would be here. So we're rewriting this blueprint and this roadmap for what aging should look like in the United States for LGBTQ plus people, as well as those aging with HIV.
My name is Damon L. Jacobs, and I live in New York City. What HIV and aging means to me is opportunity and possibility. For the first time ever in our history, we have an opportunity to have amazing, connected, barrier-less sex and to enjoy bodies without the fear of transmitting or receiving HIV to others. That also includes now the DoxyPep option in our toolbox of categories, which is very status neutral in terms of how we can prevent STIs and protect our communities. So when we put all these tools together, PrEP, U equals U, DoxyPep, we see that we have this amazing toolbox to explore, create, connect, and expand our options as far as aging and living and meaning.
My name is Jeffrey Haskell. I am 70 years old, living with HIV for 32 years and working with HIV for 34 years. I first started in Minority Task Force. So I lived in Washington, New York, and Philadelphia, and as an aging gay man with HIV, I feel like there are 3 strikes against me. There's stigma. There's for that because I'm black. There is HIV, there is still fear about that. And then I'm gay. And so everybody wants to erase us. But we are still here. I give that to Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera from the Stonewall to the Independence Hall movement that started in Philadelphia at the Constitution Center. So I am dealing with I only take one pill for HIV, but I take the other pills for other things like blood pressure, calcium, all of that. So I am fine. I'm living, I'm aging, and thriving, just like the man said.
My name is Ignacio Aguirre. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. And what HIV and aging means to me is like I have seen many of my friends going through this through the years. And what I'm seeing now with the new medications and things that are, things that are happening, I think it's a big advance. They are feeling better, and they feeling that there is a hope that one day a cure will be here. A lot of them, continue doing good things to keep themselves healthy, and and hopeful that soon there be something that will help them to have a better life, and see the end of HIV in their lives. But as me too, as my hope is that one day I will see that HIV ending before I die.
Hi, I'm Ernest Hopkins. I live in Washington, D.C. I'm the senior strategist and advisor for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation. And HIV and aging, to me, is a miracle. It's something that I didn't think I would see for a while. I certainly didn't believe that 70% of people living with HIV very soon will be over 55. That's a good message, because that means that the majority of people who are living with HIV were infected a while ago. And we are working our prevention tools to good advantage, and we're keeping people living with HIV healthy. We wish we didn't have HIV at all, but if we do have to have it, better to have people thriving, healthy, and living long lives. And so that's the way I choose to look at it.
So this is the last day of the U.S. Conference on HIV and AIDS, where, as I said before, the theme is Aging with HIV. First, I want to thank all of the men who agreed to participate in this project. And Robin, I thank you so much for this. And I just want folks to know that this is not the end. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of a long fight for not just older gay men with HIV, and not just for older gay men who do not have HIV, but for everyone who is looking to live with, thrive with, and protect themselves from HIV. Again, we've got a long fight ahead of us, and in that we also have spaces of joy, strength, pleasure, and resilience with which to do this work. And Listen to Daddy, the podcast, is one of those places. So again, on behalf of Daddy Rob, this is Daddy Rod, and as always, listen to Daddy.